Every fall here is an invitation.
Into depth, into courage, into self.
With every stroke of the brush, I understand a little more about a culture.
Through perseverance, I learn about myself.
Movement becomes meaning. Here, we live not only on stage, but into each other's stories.
Science and art are not opposites. There are both ways to ask questions and feel wonder.
In rhythm, we find sync.
In sync, we find each other.
Beyond pages lies the world, but these pages give me the wind to go. This is where creativity meets reality. What we build here, we take into the world.
At UWC, global issues are not just topics. They are conversations, they are friendships, they are action.
At UWC, conversations spark courage. We nurture learners who embrace difference, pursue moral ambition, and act with empathy to shape lives of lasting impact.
To understand one another, we must first meet. And when we do, we build peace from presence and change from within.
Vibrant.
Challenge.
Fearless. Inspired.
Curious.
Connected.
United.
Every fall here is an invitation.
Into depth, into courage, into self.
With every stroke of the brush, I understand a little more about a culture.
Through perseverance, I learn about myself.
Movement becomes meaning. Here, we live not only on stage, but into each other's stories.
Science and art are not opposites. There are both ways to ask questions and feel wonder.
In rhythm, we find sync.
In sync, we find each other.
Beyond pages lies the world, but these pages give me the wind to go. This is where creativity meets reality. What we build here, we take into the world.
At UWC, global issues are not just topics. They are conversations, they are friendships, they are action.
At UWC, conversations spark courage. We nurture learners who embrace difference, pursue moral ambition, and act with empathy to shape lives of lasting impact.
To understand one another, we must first meet. And when we do, we build peace from presence and change from within.
Vibrant.
Challenge.
Fearless. Inspired.
Curious.
Connected.
United. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to this afternoon's panel on human and planetary flourishing in the age of AI. What must radically change in education? Over the past decade, UWC Changshu, China has remained true to its founding mission to make education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. Today's conversation carries that same spirit forward, bringing together voices from education, industry, and public life to ask a simple but urgent question. What must change now, and what must endure if we are to nurture human and planetary flourishing in this age of artificial intelligence? To guide this conversation, we are joined by Bertha Tobias, a Rhodes Scholar and proud graduate of UWC Changshu, China, who has flown here today from the United Kingdom. Bertha is pursuing her doctorate in philosophy, in geography and environment at Oxford University, where she studies how corporate power shapes labor geographies in Namibia's offshore oil industry. She recently completed a master's in sustainability, enterprise, and environment, also at Oxford. Before that, she studied international relations at Claremont McKenna College in California, where she was elected to the Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society. Beyond her research, Bertha serves as president for Oxford University Africa Society and has created Spotlight by Bertha Tobias, a nationally televised series celebrating Namibian innovators and changemakers. So please join me in giving a very warm welcome home to our UWC alumna and today's moderator, Bertha Tobias.
Thank you so much for that very warm welcome, Simon. And hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. Hi, Mark. I'm so excited to be here today to help moderate this conversation. I did come in all the way. I'm super excited. It feels great to be back. But I was also just saying that it's kind of scary that I'm at the age where I now get to look back and say it's been such a long time. So I do feel a little bit old. But this place is just as magical as I remember it. So today we're going to have a very interesting conversation about human and planetary flourishing. And I'm going to invite up to the stage I think the people in the world who are best equipped to help us answer this question. So I'm going to start by inviting Mr. Faith Abiodun up to the stage, who is the Executive Director of UWC International. I have to say, when I did my quick LinkedIn search this morning, I discovered that Mr. Abiodun has his bachelor's in geography. So I do feel a bit of an academic connection here. And then I'm also going to invite up to the stage Mr. Xiao Zhang, but he will be joining us a little bit later on. But Mr. Xiao Zhang will be walking in a bit later. Up on screen, we will be joined by Mr. Olli-Pekka Heinonen, who is the Director General of the IB, and also the former Minister of Education in Finland. And then we are also going to be joined by Mr. Eric Jing, who's the Chairman and CEO of Ant Group Financial Services. So what's really important in this conversation is two main things. One, for all of us who are lucky enough to have received a UWC education, it's a moment for us to pause and reflect and assess what it has meant for us and what benefits we've reaped from it. But the second thing and the most important thing for me today is for us to consider what does a UWC education potentially mean going forward, and how do we make sure that humans and the planet continue to flourish in the world of AI, and to make sure that future generations also reap those benefits. So before I get into the questions, there should be a QR code coming up on screen very soon. And this is the code where you can submit your questions, ask questions, parents, students, people who are visiting from other schools. We'd really appreciate it if you could join the conversation and have everybody be engaged. So that's the QR code. So I'm going to get right into the first question. And this question is going to go to Mr. Abiodun. And the first question I'm going to ask is, Mr. Abiodun, what is the single most urgent shift needed for flourishing in an AI-shaped world?
It's really wonderful to be here, and thank you so much to UWC Changshu China for the chance to engage in this conversation about education today and what it needs to look like for the future. Of course, we're centering artificial intelligence as one of the biggest shifts in society as a whole, and thinking about how that impacts education and the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. We're in a school context, so it's important to begin to center what it looks like and feels like to be in a school as the world around us continues to change. The most important thing for me when we think about AI is that we should not begin the conversation from a place of fear, which is what we tend to do. And we tend to phrase it as though the whole world is going down the drain and we have to save it. I think we have a chance to be as optimistic as we might be concerned about what the future of the world looks like. But from an educational point of view, I think we've got to be conscious about the fact that the way in which we think about what education is all about, the purpose of education, and also how we think about the factors that have to enable success in education, such that we're able to emerge or evolve with young people who will leave our communities and the entire planet in a better place than it was before we showed up. I think that's the key shift that needs to precede any of the other shifts that happen. So we're going to talk about the role of the teacher. We're going to talk about how we integrate technology into our day-to-day lives. We're going to talk about deliberate diversity and what it means or feels like to bring people together from all parts of the world. We're going to talk about intentional communities and what it feels like to design spaces in which education can thrive. All of those things will come afterwards. But before that, we have to begin to evolve the way in which we think about the purpose of education, and also think about the combination of factors that have to come together in order for this education to lead us towards a more peaceful and sustainable society, not just for fellow humans, but for the ecosystems that govern our entire world. And so we're going to come to those, but I'll leave it for now with thinking about how we conceive the purpose of education, first of all, as the biggest shift that needs to happen before we get into the mechanics of how education itself changes.
Conceiving the purpose of education, that's a big one. I think I'd like to ask the same question as well to some of our online participants. I'm going to start with Mr. Oli Pekka, and I'm going to ask Mr. Heinonen, what do you think is the single most urgent shift that's needed in education today in an AI-shaped world?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure to join you all and kind of think together with the leading UWC schools in the world to reimagine education for the future. I would first say that imagination is exactly what we need, because we are not yet living in an AI-shaped world. The way that AI has impacted our societies and the fabric of our societies is quite mild yet. So we would need to now use the time to imagine that what are the possibilities, what are the risks that AI might bring with it to education. And then I would like to highlight the idea that we should keep our focus on education. We should not try to bring technology to education without understanding that what's the problem that we're solving. And I see that education for the future, there are three major challenges globally that we need to tackle. There is the challenge of equity and equality. And it's possible that AI will actually increase those challenges with equity for all. The other challenge is the challenge of quality of education. The question that what are our students truly learning in schools? And again, there is the possibility that AI could go both ways. And the third element and challenge that I would like to focus on is the challenge of relevance. What is relevant for the students of today and tomorrow to learn, to know, to be capable of doing, to be motivated of doing to create a better world with human and planetary flourishing? And I think those questions, core educational questions, are so fundamental questions, going to the roots of the purpose of what education, schooling, learning, assessment, what all of those are, that I fully agree what Faith said about the purpose. Us really concentrating now on the question of why we are educating, what is it that we're trying to achieve. And that is something more and more deep than concentrating just on the technology.
Thank you, Mr. Heinonen. I'm also going to ask Mr. Eric Jing what you think from an industry and innovation perspective, from where you're sitting as chairman and CEO of the ANT Group, what do you think is the single most urgent shift that is needed in your sector?
Thank you, Bessa. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me for this panel. Before I answer that, what is the most urgent shift? Maybe I can give a little bit background of our industry. So, ANT Group is a global, is the world's leading fintech company. So, talking about financial services is really about data-rich and the language-heavy industry. Data-rich is very obvious. And language-heavy, meaning, the financial service and the products are very abstract, complex, and so it's really relying heavily on using language for description, for communication. So I think that generative AI is going to have a profound impact on this industry. So not only on one particular domain, for example, maybe customer service, but actually it's going to impact every domain of this industry, from back office all the way to the customer-facing experience. So what I mean here is that AI, generative AI, is to our industry is not just a new tool It's really a new world. It's going to change, transform industry hugely. So because of that, I think the most urgent shift is about is really about is a change of the mindset, not being complacent of where we are today. It's really about how we can using AI to build something that is really kind of bring a much better services to the individuals and to the entire society. So that's, I think, change of mindset is the beginning to really drive changes and to transform that industry. That is very critical. Thank you, Bessa.
Thank you, Mr. Jing. So it's interesting because it sounds like a commonality is quite fundamental. So we're hearing about purpose, we're hearing about relevance, and we're hearing about a mindset, and not looking at AI as a tool or anything antagonistic, but something that is fundamentally reshaping our world and education as we know it. Which now brings me to the question on fundamentals, and I'll start with you again, Mr. Abiodun, about what must never change. So in the face of what we're now agreeing is a fundamental shift, what needs to remain slow? What are some of the things that we cannot give up to AI? What are some of the things that we need to hold on to fundamentally?
Wonderful. From a UWC International or UWC movement perspective, we began to think over the last 2.5 years about a strategy that takes us towards 2030 for us. And in the process of defining our strategy, we began by thinking about when we do our best work as a movement, what does that look like? What is the vision that we have? The UWC mission is wonderful in its articulation. It says that UWC makes education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. But we had to define or devise a theory of what the impact looks like that we make on the world through this kind of education. And in that process, we identified 3 broad stages of the work that we do. The first is that we bring deliberately diverse groups of young people together from all parts of the world. And if I pause on that idea, when education does its best work, we bring people together who are very different so that they can learn from each other, be challenged by that sense of difference. AI cannot replicate that. AI cannot bring you into spaces where you are challenged by people who are right next to you, by looking them in the eye, by understanding how they shift based on their learnings about you, with you, alongside you, etc. So there are parts of that. AI can process information, but AI cannot replicate the emergence that a person feels by engaging in real time with such diverse perspectives in a way that's observable. That part for me must never change. The intentionality behind bringing people together to learn together, to solve complex problems together, that part for me is fundamental. The second part of our theory of impact is that we educate people in communities with each other, and then we educate them in ways that inspire and propel them to develop skills, dispositions, competencies, a mindset, a worldview of wanting to solve challenges together, of wanting to invest in the collective rather than the individual capacity. Now, AI, again, is very, very good at helping people learn individually. AI, probably right with a couple of punches on your phone or your computer, can allow you to solve problems by yourself. It's for us to almost resist that and build around community, which we know human beings learn best in relationship mode. So it's very important for us to not lose sight of and not undermine the fundamentals of learning in communities with each other. The third part of our experience is really about experience. That we know that experiential learning is one of the best ways in which people retain what they have learned. Again, there are things AI can do for you. AI forces us to learn things in isolation. It forces us to retain concepts. It almost spoon-feeds us. As of today, again, the way it's emerging, and Olipeka is right, we're in the earliest phases of seeing what AI will do to education. But I would double down on our approach of experiential learning and allowing people to try things, to fail in the trying, and to learn the lessons by reflection. My fear as of today is that what AI offers us is fairly quick solutions. And if I go for just a minute longer, we've been through this before as humanity. We've had various waves of either technological drives or other systems that have forced us to change the ways in which we do things. There was a time when the calculator came into the world, and people thought that human beings were going to lose computational intelligence, because now you could punch things into a calculator, you don't have to do mental math any longer. And if we go beyond that, there are times when, for example, the microwave came into many homes, and there are things you lost. You didn't have to learn to heat up your food by striking a matchstick or knife against a rock. So we lose some things for sure, but hopefully it's allow us to gain other things in the course of education. So I would double down on the intentionality behind diversity, bringing people together by choice. I would double down on community, learning together, solving problems together. And I would double down on experience, the chance to learn by doing and reflecting on doing. If we hold those three things to be true, I think we'll retain some of the best parts of education today and then build on that with new approaches.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Abiodun. I think as you're speaking, I'm trying to have a checklist for myself, and I'm trying to think, okay, diversity, community, experience, all these things that I've experienced post UWC. Because I think, I know for me, UWC has definitely changed my life, but this is definitely the first time I'm thinking critically about what that has meant in practice. I think I'll ask the same question as well to Mr. Heinonen about what exactly you think must remain slow in a fast-paced world, and what are some of the things that we need to hold on fundamentally as AI slowly but surely starts to reshape education as we know it.
Thank you very much. It's an excellent question, and I feel that one thing, as Faith was talking about, that with new technologies we also will lose certain things. I see that there is one thing that we should not lose, and that's the understanding that human learning requires effort. It always needs that effort to happen. It takes energy, it takes our attention, it takes our motivation. But the idea that there would be a technology that would make learning effortless doesn't sound right. And when we're talking about human growth, and we are talking about the change of mindset, looking at the world in a different way, those are things that are slow by nature. We humans grow slowly. The idea that we humans take almost 20 years to learn to live in peace with each other shows that slowness that it takes for us to grow into humanity. I would like to also make that comparison that what, using the words of Howard Gardner, saying that there needs to be those things that are timeless and timely. And when we look at that, we can also look what are the kind of tasks that AI is good at doing and what not. So compare kind of human intelligence with artificial intelligence. And in today's situation, what I'm seeing there is that one thing that is something that remains for us humans is that intentionality. To understand what is meaningful, what is relevant realization, actually in a very short period of time. It's a human capacity for us, what we do constantly. And how do we do it? There's a huge amount of information around us, and we are capable of seeing what's relevant by concentrating certain things and actually leaving a lot of information outside. And when that is combined, that type of a relevance realization to the survival idea, then we're talking about intentionality. And what is very human is our ability to do it together with others. That we are capable connecting with others to make the world a better place. The second thing is that we talk about AI as that AI learns, that there is that learning that happens. And then you must think that what learning is about. I like to think that learning is something that happens in the interaction between the learner and the world. Well, does AI, does it engage with the world? It kind of does, but it engages with what we have written and told in other ways about the world. We filter, as humans, the material from where AI learns. So it doesn't engage with the real world in the way that we humans engage. And that's the reason why we need to be capable of maintaining that. And of course, we must also understand that we are bodily creatures. We have gone through the phase of information and knowledge society, where we have concentrated a lot, also in our educational solutions, to the academic part, to the scientific way of knowing, the propositional way of knowing, cognitive skills. And that's important and will be important in the future. But I think that we have left a bit in the shadow the other human ways of knowing, the procedural knowing, the way how to do things. Also the question, which is connected what Fed said about the kind of experiential learning. But then also the question of perspectival knowing. What does it mean to be somebody? What does it mean to be somebody else? What does it mean to be in a position or in a place and look from a different perspective? And then the participatory knowing, to evolve with the world around us, to be part of it and evolve, develop and grow as the world changes. We have all those capabilities also through our evolutionary process as humans, embodied in our body. And we need to be able of utilizing those, connecting to them, connecting to others, connecting to the environment. Those are the things that I think we should never learn, never let go. And therefore, what is something that we must hold true in the future of education is that human connection.
Thank you, Mr. Hainon. And I have to say, when you said that learning is slow, I was thinking back to how 2 years when you're a student at UWC feels very, very long. The days feel very slow. But then you look back one day and you look back and you wish you had more time. So I just sharing a reflection there. Turning now to Mr. Jing, from an industry and innovation perspective, what do you think are some of the practices that we should never retire, and what needs to remain slow in order for education to continue delivering on its purpose?
Thank you. I'm very much in line with what Director Faith and Minister Oni-Pekka just said. I also want to echo to Dr. Faith regarding the three things that we should holding up. Even from industry perspective, but in the word maybe what I'm using is maybe different, but the essence is the same. So number one, I think don't have the fear of the new tech. Don't try to stay in the comfort zone. I mean, that mega trend is unstoppable. It's coming. It's not the future, it's right now. It's happening right now. And just to learn it, just to master it, just using AI to help you become better. Let AI handle the routine so you can focus on the revolutionary. Don't try to focus on the routine. Don't develop, not to develop your creativity. I mean, that's my suggestion. So be collaborative, be creative. That's very critical. We should do more to should holding up. And also, secondly, be empathetic, be communicating with emotions. People have not of emotional touch. That's something that's the characteristics of human beings. That's something very unique. That's something very warm part of our society. So that's something really differentiates us from machines, from the algorithms. That's important. Certainly regarding building trust. It's all about the trust. Today, not only the trust in the organization, we're building across different functions, different teams, but also the trust we're building up with the consumers, with our customers. But in the future, it's also we should fostering some trust by working closely with the AIs. How we can work together with AI to fulfill some tasks to reach that objective is also a challenge for us, whether we can trust each other. So what kind of the trust we should put in places, we should fostering is also something we should put more efforts on. So that's something I'm going to share from industry perspectives.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Jing. And I think that definitely speaks to the context of our conversation today as well, which is not looking at AI as an antagonistic force, but rather a force where we can harness its momentum and help us deliver even better on the purpose of education. So shifting into another angle of this conversation, so we've sort of spoken about the fundamentals, right? We said we need to perhaps rethink purpose and perhaps rethink the fundamentals of education in the face of AI. And I now want to bring it back a little bit to the practical side of things in terms of things that might have to change. So if you had to look at it, and I'll start again with you, Mr. Abiodun, in terms of everyday practices, what are some things that might have to change? What are some things that educators themselves might have to change? If we're to wake up tomorrow and say this needs to change in order for us to harness AI's momentum, what would some of those things be?
I mean, this is a wonderful conversation because we're grappling with things that we mentally believe in, but we might struggle to translate on a day-to-day basis. I'll center three things that we should think about changing, coming back to that point of purpose of education. I think the first one in our practices is, and this might feel less relevant to some of us in the room today because we're at the forefront of doing much of this work, and the systems across the world that we don't have direct influence on are farther behind in the public education system globally. But first of all, it's this conception of education as content delivery, right? That we have to transmit knowledge or information to young people as teachers. We might say, well, we don't do that any longer because we're UWC. But in the world of education, largely, that is still the way education is delivered. So if we bring the AI versus our way of doing education into comparison, you realize that we're always going to be catching up with AI moving forward if we're trying to prioritize our approach to education as delivering content. We're up against computers that will not need to go to bed at night, will not have to deal with families, will not have to get tired in the middle of the day. AI is always going to be a little bit quicker, a bit more efficient at processing information. So we have to retire the idea that our role in education is to deliver knowledge or deliver content. That part needs to go to rest, number one. The second thing I think we have to change is, and this is going to be hard, the idea of standardization in education. You have a teacher in a classroom who's got 25, 30, if you're lucky, 12 to 18 students. It's very challenging for a teacher to go with each person at their own pace. So you almost by default begin to standardize what you deliver. You teach the same curriculum to different people. It's going to be hard to actually bring in differentiation, but we know that we are different. And I began my contribution by talking about the fact that we are deliberately diverse. We're intentional about bringing different people together from all kinds of backgrounds, which means they've had different levels of preparation for whatever we're going to teach. So the idea that we teach them the same way, we evaluate them the same way, we expect fairly similar outcomes from them, knowing that they've come from very different places, that's difficult, that's challenging. And again, we're talking here about human and planetary flourishing. So we've got to bring the planet into our conversation. I think about, in our natural systems today, monocultures are likeliest to struggle for survival. A thriving ecosystem is heterocultural. You have all kinds of plants, all kinds of bird species, all kinds of animal species in a thriving ecosystem. But in our educational systems, we go for monocultures. We expect people to go at a fairly similar pace. That's the quickest way to die in nature. So it's a challenge for us to think about how we can build in intentional differentiation in the delivery of education. That's number two. The third thing for me is about how we define success today in education. For most of our systems, competition is the way you thrive. And I think that is a challenge for us in the work that we do today. If we expect that education in its expression needs to be zero-sum thinking, someone has to be first, in a classroom, and someone has to be somewhere in the middle, someone has to be at the end of the class if you rank everybody, or we rank education systems, we rank universities. There's always competition built into it. I think there's a challenge for us in that because we've got to be able to reward collective engagement. We've got to be able to teach young people, and again, to Eric's point about industry, when you go out into industry, cooperation is more important than competition. You've got to work with people. But the delivery of education today is designed around competition. And so we have to, again, retire the ways in which we teach and prepare young people. Now we might feel, again, this is not relevant for us as UWC, because we have classrooms where everyone's voice is heard. But we all know what systems beyond ours look like. And education is not as far advanced as that. So I'll be challenging us to think about, again, if we're learning from nature, symbiosis is the way nature exists. And even when you have parasitic relationships in nature, everyone still coexists in nature. You need a bit of that relationship, that working together, if we think about how education makes the planet thrive. So my challenge for us is to think about how we build more cooperation than competition, how we allow more differentiation than standardization, and how we allow for more education as emergence together rather than simply delivering content. The three things we have to rethink as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, on that, I also have to say that the first time I thought about standardization, although I didn't have the language, was my first month into UWC. I was in F year, and I woke up to go and grab some water. There's about 2 a.m., and I had found some of my classmates who were from countries where they hadn't learned in English studying the dictionary. And that was the first time it occurred to me that there's some people who would go to UWC having been administered the IB curriculum without having learned English in their previous country. So I think the point on intentional differentiation, well taken. I'll direct the same question to Mr. Heinonen about what you think, if we were to wake up tomorrow, what are some of the first practices that we would need to retire as soon as possible in the face of a soon-to-be AI-shaped world?
Yes, thank you. I think we need to look at tomorrow's morning with 3 different horizons in our mind. That we need to have the visionary part, us knowing that even tomorrow morning, what is the direction where we want to go to? And that's not possible if we are not capable of having that kind of a longer perspective vision. And then we need to have the second horizon, which is the kind of experimenting, piloting, looking at how can it be done in practice? What does work? What doesn't work? and kind of building the bridge from tomorrow's morning to the vision. And we have, at the IB, we have committed ourselves to the task of imagining what would education, teaching and learning, curriculum programs, assessment, teacher profession, learning environment, pedagogies, what would they look like when we put human and planetary flourishing as a final aim of education? And I would also like to maybe mention three things, and there was a lot in common again with what Faith just said. But first what I do see is that we have emphasized in education for a long time that task of transferring everything that humankind has been capable of creating so far, all the knowledge, all the sciences, medicine, cultures, to the new generations. Transfer task. But the other task is, which is becoming more and more important, that how are we enabling the young generations to create their own future, to create their own solutions and identify the problems that they are seeing in the world that we have created. And that means that we need to be capable of offering new ways of seeing, sensing, and interpreting the world, and to come to different solutions that what we, older generations, have come to. Because if we only concentrate on the transfer task, we are actually transferring also all the problems that we have created with the world that we have today. So that ability to come to different solutions and have kind of different views than what we have had earlier is the first one that I would like to highlight. And the second one, it is connected to education, but it also is connected to assessment. And when talking about assessment widely, including both summative and formative assessment, we have used for a long time only kind of one kind of ecology of value. And that's kind of numbers, grades, percentages. But we need to start to learn to use a wider set of economies of value. And through that, provide opportunity for more young people to grow into their full potential through education and their schooling years. The idea that so many young people feel that they kind of don't succeed in education, that they fail education. I think there is something wrong with the education systems themselves, not with those young people. And partly it is because we value through assessment such a narrow element of what we say that is valuable. And the third point that I would like to say is to value what students are capable of doing already during their studies for their communities. Not only that what students get from education, but what the world is asking from students. Because we are seeing that challenge with well-being in today's world of what a lot of young people are struggling with. And we also know that one of the best ways to cope with your own well-being is to help the well-being of others. Once you do something valuable for others, for the community, you see the value, what is in your doing. And through that, you grow your own self-esteem and your sense of yourself and your well-being. And it's also a great way to learn new things by doing. And through that, also start imagining what could be better ways of designing and establishing the next set of economical, societal, and organizational models that we will be needing for the future. So those are the three things that I would like to mention.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hainon. And turning to you, Mr. Jing, I'll pose the same question to you about what, from an industry and innovation perspective, would you retire first thing tomorrow morning in order for AI to thrive and for education to continue thriving in the face of AI?
I think when you're looking at when you're looking from industry perspectives, those purely knowledge-driven or process-driven, what I defined as routines, right, can be easily taken over by Gen AI. AI can be much better than we do. So, but for those creative things, creative imagination, for those things to be relying on people working together, be collaborative. For those, we have empathetic, we have the love each other, we have the trust. Those things are not AI can take over. So what I mean, that does not mean that we don't put focus on the knowledge learning. By why we should focusing more on the being creativity, fostering collaboration, be empathetic, kind of the building trust among the people, can working together to achieving the same goal, right? So that's what I'm saying. So it's also similar to Dr. Director Face just mentioned, right? It's not about it's not about competition. It's really about building collaboration, right? Really about building creativity, really about building the trust. So that's something we should, focus on. So by saying that, and then we can have a good coexistence with AI. So working together.
Thank you, Mr. Jing. So we welcome now President Xiao Zhang to the stage, President of Suzhou University. So far, President Zhang, we've spoken about what needs to change fundamentally as AI begins to shape the world and education, what needs to change and what needs to remain the same. And we have different industries represented. From Mr. Hainonen, we have the systems lens represented. From Mr. Jing, we have an industry and innovation lens. And from Mr. Abiodun, we have a mission and network lens from a UWC perspective. And I'll ask if you can tell us, if you had to wake up tomorrow, and sorry to put you on the spot, and change something about education today and or tomorrow in order for education to continue thriving as AI takes over the world, so to speak, what would that change be?
Okay, so first, I'd like to say, I have to say I'm sorry because I'm rushing from Beijing to here. But I don't want to miss this great opportunity. And actually, I have been watching this discussion online from the WeChat. So that's actually, we can say, the great change or those good things happened because of the AI era. So, because here you cannot say there's the translation from Chinese and English. So from the WeChat, we can say both version. That's actually amazing. You cannot imagine maybe 5 years ago. And also, I have learned a lot from the previous discussion, especially like Eric said. In the industry, you will say AI right now is not only a new tool, but actually a new word. That's something amazing for not only for industry, but for all of us. So for your question, I'd like to say, if I want to do something change in the education, maybe tomorrow morning, the first thing I want to say is actually the evaluation, especially in the Chinese system for our university. For Suzhou University, we have been making those changes, but still not enough. Right now, we still evaluate people, the students, the young generation, by grades or by papers, not really for like creativity or other things that's really be suitable for AI era. I don't want to waste too much time, but that's something I really want to change, because if you do not change the evaluation like standard, you cannot really change the education system or the education way. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thank you. So before we move into the final part of our conversation, this next part is going to be a bit more interesting and dynamic, because it's a cross-sector conversation where I'm going to ask for our different panelists to offer a potential suggestion or pose a question to another sector that's represented on the panel. And I'm going to start with Mr. Abiodun, because we spoke briefly about it before the panel. And I'm going to ask Mr. Abiodun, if you had to pose a suggestion or a question to either industry and innovation, systems, or tertiary, what would that be?
This is interesting, as you said. I'm going to pick Ole Pekka, because this is something that we talk about. And I think because we're currently engaged in conversations about systems-level transformation of education. What needs to change in order for us to jointly influence the design, the resourcing, the delivery of education at scale in the public systems around the world? You have experience, of course, of working in the public system of education. We feel privileged to work on the more private side of education. We can experiment, we can tweak many things. We're a little bit released from the pressure of rankings in the public system, the resourcing challenges that public schools face. But the vast majority of children in the world will go through public schools. And those are some of the slowest moving industries to change, even within the world of education generally. So from the point of view, from the work you're leading, from the discussions we've been having, what needs to change in order for us, UWC, the IB, to influence what happens in public education around the world?
Mr. Heinonen, would you like some time to think about that, or do you want to take that now?
I think I'm fine to take it now.
Awesome.
It's an excellent question, and thank you for bringing faith on that. With the public systems, having worked most of my life with public systems, I would say that one of the challenges I am seeing is that there is a lack of understanding how an education system is functioning and how change happens in an education system. I feel there is too often that idea of kind of national political decision-making being outside the system, kind of managing like a motor of a car that is not functioning right, managing where's the problem and then trying to fix it. And that is a model that I have seen many times, that it creates frustration for educators, for schools who don't understand what is being done, because there is limited amount of collaboration and communication between the different layers in the education system. And there's also frustration for the policymakers, because they are saying that why aren't those schools changing the way we want them to change? That they are kind of against us and they don't have the skills and all the blame game. And it's really all about the question of understanding that the system cannot change but from the inside. And it is an open human system, and it requires the involvement of the different actors in the system for it to be capable of moving to the same direction. And in order for that to be successful, there needs to be trust in the system. And in today's world, where there are so many things that break trust, the trust needs to be fed constantly in the system. And there needs to be actors in the education systems who are doing that. Then everybody needs to understand that who belong to that system. What is the kind of ecosystem that is needed to educate a child or a young generation? And then thirdly, there must be some understanding of the shared purpose. What is the purpose of education, what we started with? If there are several different purposes in the system, it's no wonder that you don't come to a good outcome. So there needs to be somebody who convenes everybody together to have that collaboration and that communication that enables the system move to the direction that is the purpose. So that's how I see that, what is the big challenge of public systems and why they are often failing, not in creating good strategies, but in implementing the strategies to the classrooms and every school in a good way. If I may in turn kind of ping the two other panelists with the question that when we are looking at the life expectancy of us humans being, which has gotten longer over centuries and is quite high now in many countries, that how are we capable of coming together from primary education, secondary education, tertiary education, universities, the world of work, in a way that we are capable of aligning that what are the competencies, what are the skills, knowledge, attitudes, values that the young generations and the generations getting older need. And also taking into consideration that what are the things that need to be taught at a young age, and what are the elements that can be learned through the lifelong learning at older ages.
Thank you, Mr. Hainon. And President Xiao, would you like to take that one, perhaps?
Actually, on my way to be here, I heard a lot about the frustration or some concerns about the AI era. And I have been working in the government for 5 years, and just come back to Suzhou University 5 months ago. Because when I was working in the government, I have a lot of conversation and collaboration with those industrial companies. So that time I was very excited because of the great progress in the development of AI. But 5 months ago, when I come back to the university side, I do see a lot of concerns from both teachers and young students. Because for the teachers, they're just more like, I'm getting older and older, am I able to learn this AI or using these tools? For the students, they have the same concern, especially those students not from the computer science or from like those AI-related disciplines. For the other disciplines students, they do have those concerns. So for that, I think the gap is between the giant company from those industry and the other, the normal people, I would say. So that's something I want to say. Maybe for those like Mr. Eric Jing from the Ant Group, that's the biggest like AI company in China. I think we, like the universities or the communities and those industry companies and also governments, we should work together to bridge the gap. That's actually the most important thing. So, because right now I think the most advanced AI technology is in the company. It's not in our university, I like to say. So that's something I want to say. Maybe we can work together. Yeah.
I'll just ask Mr. Jing very quickly before we move into the looking forward aspect. So we have private education practitioners and public education practitioners trying to figure out how they can bridge that gap and make sure that throughout the same values, the same principles, the same lessons, and the same fundamentals are retained. Do you see a role for industry and innovation in helping bridging that gap between private and public education and sort of a cross-sector collaborative effort?
I think I'd like to quote the Jane Goodall. Jane Goodall is spent her whole life in protecting the nature. She said, only if we understand can we care. Only if we care will we help. Only if we help shall we be saved. I like to say, only if we understand can we care. Only if we care will we take action. Only if we take action, we shall all be saved. I think when I listen to what President President Zhang just mentioned, still a huge gap between university education versus industry play, right? So I think maybe one thing I can suggest, because for the Changjiang River Delta and the Pearl River Delta are at the forefront of the technology innovation, of developing the technologies and deploy the technologies into different applications, right? I think one of the things really can bring students to visit, to have a conversation with all industry players, because only if they see, they understand, can they care. Only if they care, they will take actions to learn much harder, right? Try to be a person future-oriented, future-ready for the AI era. So I think only if everyone taking actions, not only on the technology side or developing application side, but also on the governance side, ethics side, right? That's very critical to making sure the future can be sustainable. While we sustain the scaled value from AI, the society can be sustainable. So I think it's not just put students to study in the campus. We have students go out. We have to bring the industry players. We have that facilitate that kind of conversation, dialogue, right? That could be maybe the one suggestion I can give. That's one suggestion I can give to you guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So we're going to move into looking forward, the world ahead. And we have some questions here, and I'm very excited to get into these questions. I'll just ask very briefly, though, from each of our panelists, looking forward, what kind of world do you hope learners will create moving forward? I'll start with you, Mr. President Zhang.
Actually, I've been a very optimistic guy. So the first thing I think, I'm still be very optimistic. Because as long as we have the belief technology is for good, then we can do those good things. And over the past several hundred years, we can say, we do see a lot of advanced technology happened. Like for my age, or for all of us, we have witnessed the big or great change because of the internet. And really see the great things happened right now every day. And for those young generation with us, they're going to say, okay, now we'll witness the great change because of the AI. And for that, just one very small story, I'll say, I'm using the Alipay every day. The one reason is because of the ant forest. Okay, that's like a small game. So every day when you use that, you get some credits. When you accumulate enough credits, you can plant a tree in the west or northern part of China. And the real tree will be planted by ant group. So, I mean, that's another story, because those new technology developed by this giant company, as long as they are really believe in technology is good, they are doing those good things. And at the same time, I do say those young generation, like in our university, they are using AI to help those disabled people, to help to preserve like the old pictures in Suzhou city. Those are actually very good things. So as long as we are keeping like being optimistic and we believe technology is good and we work together, I believe we are going to have very much better life and much better earth. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Mr. Abiodun.
Two things. I think that my hope is that the kind of education we create inspires and equips young people to help to shape a society that works equally for all parts of society. We face huge risks of division, both in terms of sharing physical space with each other. Technology has a likelihood to force us further into ourselves, such that even when we're physically close to people, we're not engaging with them. I see that in public transport. I live in the UK. Everyone's got a headphone in, and we're all close to each other, but far away from each other. And that's physical contact or intellectual exchange. And then equally, the idea of creating for the benefit of society. Technologies across the world are being used again to sow division, sow hatred, to wage war. Could we create a society that inspires and equips people to seek the best of each other and to create the best for each other and not to ruin the planet at the same time? If we can achieve that, I think we would have made a revolution possible in education.
All right. Mr. Hainonen, what kind of world do you hope learners create?
I hope that we can enable the young learners to be capable of living together in peace, to be capable of having their own views of the world, to come together, to have dialogue, to be capable of disagreeing, but still finding kind of common ground to live peacefully. And what does it mean in these days to create a more peaceful world? I think we are also at the same time, we are talking about the big planetary challenges. Because if we are not tackling those questions, we are seeing a world where there is less and less territory that is for humans conditions, kind of, the living conditions are such that humans can live there. And that creates a very severe challenge of lack of vital resources, which creates a potential cocktail, very toxic cocktail of conflict. And for that reason, our ability to live peacefully together, I see that that's very central. And that includes also the curiosity towards unknown, to be ready to try to understand differences and to respect also different cultures and ways of looking at the world. And maybe the third element, I would like to mention that in a world where there's a lot of complexity and a lot of uncertainty, and we're not always aware that what is the outcome of our actions. And in that kind of a world, it's very central that we do things with care and good intention, that we have that care for other humans, for the planet, and that good intention to have good outcomes. So those three elements, the more peaceful, curiousness, and doing things with care and good intention.
All right. Thank you. So peace, curiosity, care, good intention. Again, also reflecting for myself whether these are things that I practice as a UWC alum. It's very, very challenging. So yeah, big mission. Mr. Jing, what kind of world do you hope learners create?
I mean, what kind of what, right?
Yeah, what kind of world, what kind of future, what kind of world do you hope learners can create going forward?
Yeah, I want to echo to Minister that this is our planet, our human beings' planet. I mean, from technology revolution perspective or from nature conservation perspectives, we all should work in together to protect the planet, protect nature, making this is the planet we can thrive together.
All right, thank you. I'll now be moving on to some of the questions from the audience. So we have about 5 questions here. I'll hope that we have time to get through all of them, but these are excellent, very specific questions. So the first question, and we can sort of decide who takes this on. The first question is from a student in the UWC CSC community, and they ask, public libraries have long served as universal public goods that democratize access to knowledge. As AI becomes central to learning, how can we design AI systems that act like digital public libraries, serving students and society rather than commercial interests? And there's a sub-question in this question. The sub-question is, what safeguards or strategies are needed to ensure that AI in education remains a public good, as opposed to becoming controlled by a small group of powerful stakeholders, which I think is really the essence of the question. It's a big one. Does anyone want to? Okay, so Mr. Jing, it seems like the consensus, the democratic vote is that this is a question for you.
I think I really appreciate this question. So that meaning, for our, students, for the people here, but not only pay attention to the benefits of using the technology, but also not have attention, not have discussion on the potential threat it can also bring up to the human beings. So I'm really grateful for these questions. I think in short, it's really about governance and ethics things, So, for the other, people from public sector, private sector, from different stakeholders. Everyone should be mindful of that. There is this really not only one side benefit, but also have another side of potential threat. We should be very mindful of that. We should, in the meantime, we always put a lot of efforts to kind of making the AIs more smart. But on the other hand, we should making sure the AI have a good heart. We should working together, across globally, making sure we have good governance in place. We have built up the ethics. That's sort of the guardrail we should be working together to build, making sure our driving car does not go out of the lines. It's very, very critical. I think the discussion should not only be on the advantage, competitive edge of AI, of the tech, but also on the potential downside of that. It could be enormous. And we should, working very hard together on that regard as well.
Thank you, Mr. Jing. I think when talking about governance and making sure that we avoid, to the furthest extent possible, any catastrophic consequences of sort of unaided AI implementation, that leads us very well into our next question from a teacher in the UWC CSC community. And I think this might be a question for any panelist, but I think Mr. Hainonen, this one's for you. So this is asking, what specific strategies and timelines is the IB implementing to help schools, educators, and parents adapt to the rapid pace of AI-driven change in education?
Thank you for the question. I think it's something that we've definitely started with. I think we were the first educational organization really to say when the ChatGPT hype started that we want educators, schools, students to engage with the new technology. That's the best way to learn from it, is to work with it and see that what it's capable of and what's not capable of, and kind of in that sense take a relation with the new technology and its capabilities. I think we are in front of a huge professional development challenge, and that's something that we have also started to give kind of online and other workshops to educators to learn pedagogical solutions to use AI for the best of teaching and learning. I would say that the added value for education comes from that. It's when you integrate the pedagogies to the new technology, and then of course we have to also be aware of the risks that there are. It's kind of not only the possibilities which we all must try to reach the opportunities and possibilities, but also mitigate the risks. And the biggest challenge I think we are seeing right now with AI is the question of kind of AI councils, AI friends for young people, who there's a generation who has gone through the lockdown during the pandemic, who have difficulties in creating friendship relations with others, who are in the danger of kind of having an AI friend and believing that that friend is like another human being. And it's not. And there we come to the question that we very well heard from Mr. Jin about the question that AI doesn't care. That care is something very human, and we have to make sure also that students know that what AI is capable of and what's not capable of. So maybe coming to back to the question that we are constantly working with kind of finding the solutions and enabling us to develop our education programs to be ready for the AI-shaped world. And of course, one way of doing it is also how we're developing our assessments, what we're doing constantly, and next year doing the first round of digital assessments, which opens the door that how can we use AI in the assessment process, actually in many different forms. But then there is, of course, the kind of study plan type of elements. And again, the thing that we are doing is that we're working together with the industry to find the best solutions that would work from the perspective of schools, teachers, and pedagogy.
All right. I think the common sentiment here is around cautious implementation of AI and being sensitive to what it can and cannot do, and making sure that students don't get that twisted. And that leads us to another question, and I think you might have to rock, paper, scissors to decide who's going to answer it, but Mr. Abiodun, you've mentioned something to the effect of sort of equality and making sure that nobody gets left behind and the divisions that can come in the face of AI. So a student in the UWC CSE community asks, as AI becomes more integrated into our lives, how can we responsibly address the risks, especially the concern that many people may be left behind or displaced from meaningful intellectual engagement? What are the implications of outsourcing our thinking to machines?
That's something actually we have been thinking about, especially like for our universities. Different from UWC. Previously in the high school, most likely they are not allowed. For those students, for those university students, they are not allowed to use a lot of like smartphone or iPad during the high school. And then when it comes to the university, they're open to the internet, to the AI, everything. So risk actually for the governors has been a very important part for us. So we have been doing like two things. The first thing is actually the risk come from the heart of themselves. So every people should be thinking about what's the real risk, right? So if we just like for the governance, we just say, okay, you're not allowed to do that thing or this thing, that's not good. So the students themselves, they have to be really understand what's the risk come from. The first thing, the education. So for the for Suzhou University, the motto is onto the full government. So for every student, for themselves, they have to be educated. They have to be doing themselves, the first thing. And second thing is for the security. We are working together with the industry and the government side, especially for the data protection. For everyone, for this privacy, we have to keep an eye on that. That's something, there are two things we are doing that. Still, there are a lot of risk and a lot of things. That's something we don't want to say, but that happened almost every day. So that take maybe a long time for us, also for the teachers. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Yeah, please.
I think there are two sides of this that I hope we get right as we move forward. The first is something we've not had a chance to talk about so far. It's the role of teachers. Teachers come into education because they want to help to shape young people into being the best versions of themselves. But we also have a lot of rethinking to do about how we prepare and equip teachers to be able to play a part in shaping this world that is evolving perhaps quicker than they can keep up with it. We must never assume that education will replace teachers in the classroom with some kind of technology. We've tried that before. Lepeka mentioned what happened in COVID. Technology could never replace the engagement of teachers in a classroom. So how we help young people navigate a world where they don't outsource their thinking, we have to double down on the support mechanisms for teachers. Teacher well-being, teacher preparation, teacher compensation, teacher workload, teacher qualification. There's a lot of work we have to do around the teaching profession. It is the single biggest determinant of success for young people. It is the single biggest determinant of joy that young people experience in education, or the dread they have for education, and the likelihood that they would resort to technology or to AI to solve challenges and outsource their thinking capacities. So there's a lot of work that we have to put into preparing teachers to play the role that only they can play in helping to shape young people to be better in society. The second thing for me about this is the capacity of AI in a positive way to reactivate joy in learning. It is possible. I have seen, I have a 6-year-old daughter. I take her on walks around a park close to my house. I don't know who taught her this, because I didn't, but we're seeing flowers, little plants, little fruits. She'll ask me, what's this fruit about, or what's this flower? I said, I don't know. She says, well, use Google Lens. I'm thinking, you're 6. So clearly someone, maybe a teacher in school, had introduced Google Lens as a chance to take a picture in real time, and with AI, you can discover information about that thing. The joy in this little girl in learning blew me away. AI can do that. AI can help us engage better with things around us. So that's for me bringing back the sense of we don't have to dread AI. But the role of a teacher can help to bring joy back in the process of discovery, learning. Education right now is too painful, it's too stressful, it's dreadful, it takes up hours. We can use AI with the help of a teacher who's engaged, who's whole in themselves, who's well remunerated. They can reactivate that joy in learning. I'll give everyone a challenge for this evening when you go for dinner. I saw someone do this a month ago, and it got me excited about what I could do. The person, we were at dinner, and we all got served our meals, and the man pulled out his phone and got on ChatGPT and took a picture of his food. And he looked at me because he's thinking, oh, I'm not being vain about taking a picture of my meal like most people are. What he had done was to plug into a single word after he took a picture, nutrition. That was the one word. Took a picture of the meal and typed nutrition. And instantly, ChatGPT analyzed the components of the ingredients in the food and began to talk about how many calories were in the food and asked for suggestions of what to have to complement their calorie intake for the rest of the day. The joy in discovering things by using AI. Otherwise, you get served a plate of pasta. I don't have a clue what's in it beyond there's some pasta in there. But you could get a sense of how many, how much oil is in there, how much spices are in there, etc. And I was seeing that in real time, whether or not it's fully accurate. There was joy in discovery about what's in this thing. I want us all to think about those kinds of applications. So when you have your meal tonight and you get served, take a picture of it and type in the word nutrition. See what you could discover about what's going into your body and how you could complement that. So my point here is teachers are absolutely significant in shaping what AI does for us. And we can use AI to reactivate joy and engagement in the classroom and beyond the classroom. That's what I hope we do going forward.
All right, thank you very much. As someone who learned how to bake recently using ChatGPT, I can confirm that there is a lot of joy in learning from AI tools. So we've come to the end of our conversation today. I'll just ask from each of our panelists in one sentence, if you could tell us what you would say to a 16-year-old, either your 16-year-old self or 16-year-olds in the room, what you would tell them about learning, about purpose, what they should be doing to get the most out of their education in the world of AI, what would that be? We'll start with you, Mr. Jing, if that's okay.
Thank you. We really appreciate, to be on this panel, and I really enjoy our panel discussion. Enjoy discussion with other panelists. So my suggestion would be stay curious to explore, master it, and prosper with it. Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Heinonen, what would you say to a 16-year-old?
I would say that make an effort to learn from the world because it creates meaning to your life, and do it in the sense as if life depended on it.
Wow. Okay. All right. President Zhao.
I mean, if I was 18 years old right now, I think biggest concern for me is actually when the machine becomes smarter than us, what's the value of being the human being? So I would like to say being optimistic, believe in technology for good. That's what I want to say. Thanks.
Mr. Abiodun, to a 16-year-old.
I think my message is probably going to build on the question that you raised there. I would say to a 16-year-old, you matter. Even as technology becomes more and more part of our lives, in your unique self, you matter. You have value. And AI computers can scale access to information. It can scale human dignity. Only humans can create that. So I want to say to every person out there, you matter, your life has value. Build dignity for yourself and for others. Believe in yourself, you can do it.
All right. Thank you. And thank you very much to all of our panelists today. That brings us to the end of our conversation. I was joined by Mr. Oli-Pekka Heinonen, the current head of the IB, Mr. Eric Zhang, the chairman and CEO of Ant Group. I was also joined by President Xiao Zhang, the president of Suzhou University, and Mr. Faith Abiodun, who is currently leading UWC International. Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining us. If I could just ask my panelists to stay on stage for a quick photo, and then everybody else can continue with their day. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Faded to black.